Hi everyone, thanks for joining our Virtual Invest Meetup. I hope you will spend time with pleasure and profit. My name is Julia, I'm the co-founder of Unicorn Lab. Let's start from the short introduction. Unicorn Lab is a startup growth hub focused on impact investment. We have more than 5 years experience in venture capital industry, more than 200 venture funds focused on HealthTech biotech investment in our network. The main purpose of Unicorn Lab is to promote beneficial cooperation between entrepreneurs and investors from HealthTech biotech wellness industries. For selected startups from these industries, we offer our services to get their brand awareness, visibility to the industry investors, and raise capital for their current venture. Our team also runs Biohacking Congress. It is the platform dedicated to furthering the advancement of biohacking, health optimization, health, and ecological companies. We hosted our Biohacking Congresses in Silicon Valley last few years. Now we invite you to our Biohacking Congress in Miami on October 16-17. It will be life-changing weekend with more than 25 top speakers on health optimization and longevity. You can explore more than 20 great health companies, health tech devices, ecological products, and meet like-minded people, your potential partners and friends. You can join us at the venue or watch live stream. So get your ticket 50% off with promo code HACK50 at our website biohackingcongress.com. Now we are starting our program. The first part of Virtual Invest Meetup will be panel discussion about the hottest trends in health tech investment. Then will be introduction of investors. And then we will be listening to the pitches of 3 selected startups: Larry Dream, Vidaluz, and Wellness for Humanity. We are honored to have such a reputable venture investors with us today, and these reputable venture funds. Now let me invite to our virtual stage our speakers: Bill Hyun, venture partner, Genoa Ventures; Deng, investment partner, Joyance Partners; Julianne Roseman, Senior Associate Ventures, Plug and Play Tech Center; Allan, venture partner, Medtech Convergence Fund; founder, Life Science Angels. So I invite all speakers now, and we are starting our meetup with the panel discussion. So we are going to discuss the latest trends in health tech investment. However, first of all, interesting to learn more about your experience, background. So please shortly introduce yourself. Let's start with your introduction, Julianne.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julianne, and I'm a senior associate at Plug and Play Ventures. My background has been in ventures and healthcare my entire career. So I started at a first-time fund that had a sort of unique business model that was trying to capture more on the impact side, and then moved on and did some strategy and business development work, still within the healthcare world, and then came over to Plug and Play to focus a bit more on digital health. I also have a certificate in impact investing, very passionate about using finance to accelerate progress for the world and good outcomes for human health.
Thank you very much. And Bill, Hyun.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here. My background is a Ph.D. in biophysics. I'm at the University of California, San Francisco, but I'm a venture partner also at Genoa Ventures. I've been investing and building companies since the late 1980s. So that sort of dates me a little bit. So I've co-founded 10 companies, have invested in dozens of others. I focus primarily where biology meets technology, sometimes where the technology is biology, something like CRISPR, or it may be technology that facilitates biology in terms of cytometry or the kinds of technologies that allow diagnostics or the analysis or production of pharmaceuticals. and that also takes me into places like synthetic biology and ag tech. So that's my quick background.
Great, interesting. And June, Deng, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is also a scientist. I got my PhD from UCLA in molecular biology, and that after graduation, I got into venture directly. And currently, I'm an investment partner at Joyance Partners, where I was onboarded, basically helped the company transit from tech investors into healthcare investors. I started as a life science investor, but gradually dived into really become a health tech investor. So I've so far led over 50 investments and served 3 board observer roles. And I see some friends here, and David, Allan, good to see you. And so really looking forward to see about the discussion.
Hi, June.
Great. Nice. Allan, may you please introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Allan May. I am one of the co-founders of Life Science Angels, which is a significant life science vertically focused investment group based here in California. We're probably the largest group in the country that is all life science officials or people who started or founded or ran life science companies. So almost everyone in the group has commercialization experience. So the skill set that we bring to this is not just some understanding of science and technology, but how do you make money on this stuff? And how do you take things out of the lab, off the bench, get them through the FDA, reimbursed, and then end up getting them to patients and ultimately selling the company. So that's kind of our focus. I've been a venture capitalist myself. We had a fund for 10 years. I've started quite a number of companies and been chairman or CEO of a number of companies. And I'm currently a venture partner with a fund called Medtech Convergence Fund, which is focused specifically on the translation of technology from hospitals towards the home and that process of transitioning care that's coming up in the future.
Thank you very much for your introduction, and let's start the discussion. As you know, as we all see, the world is recovering after the pandemic, and of course, we expect that more innovative startups will appear, and these startups probably and hopefully can make healthcare more effective, more convenient, and consumer-friendly and affordable, of course. So regarding trends, I think that let's start discussion from such trend as virtual health, really big trend. And I think that investors are now interested in startups which can connect virtual health with retailer healthcare with real doctors. I would like to know from your perspective, which startups maybe you invested or you know in virtual health? Julianne.
Sure, I can kick it off. One of our recent investments is called Curex, and they're actually focused on the allergy space. And so this idea that you can, you sort of know if you have allergies just by living in the world, if you're allergic to the pollen in the grass this time of year. And so you can get an at-home test kit, to do a sample and then send it out. So I think the virtual healthcare also includes the diagnostic side of
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then you can, after you have those results, you have that telemedicine visit. And then get your treatment, and then your drugs are delivered to the home. So this idea that you're pairing multiple steps within the process, of which the doctor is only one component of it, although that person is sort of taking care of your whole care, and that it's much more flexible and convenient for patients, which is why they're seeking out those kind of solutions. But it could be paired with an in-person laboratory solution as well. You could go if that was easier. I think it depends on what the condition is, where you can figure out which components can be done virtually, and then where do you need to go in person to get care.
Yeah, Julian, actually, you touched another big trend that consumers continue to prefer take care about their own health by themselves, and of course, they need more devices and lab tests to use at home. And I know from our biohacking community that more and more people happy to use a lot of devices at home and track their results. Of course, it is not replace doctors, but they easy can use devices and lab tests at home and track their results. So what do you think, Bill Hyun? We started to talk about this when you just joined us today. I'm sure you have what to say.
So I sit in, so my appointment's in the clinical, it's in the Department of Lab Medicine, which houses the clinical lab here at UCSF. And so we're grappling with that as a clinical diagnostic group. And if you look at UCSF's at home, patient interaction, before COVID, January of 2020, we were doing maybe 4%. That number's totally flipped. We're now doing 90% at-home visits with your physician, by Zoom or remotely. And often that now entails, how to get samples and get them to the clinical lab when the patient isn't sitting in the doctor's office. So we're looking at those, and we're looking at the enterprise solutions that collect that data. And as you can imagine, there's lots of peripheral things that go with that. The analytics, so you have a lot of digital health using AI, ML, sort of advanced metrics for determining normal versus when you're sick. And the other pieces and parts are things like security and how you share that data and who gets to see that data and how that data gets used. And so we'll be grappling with those for a long time. The specific investments, so I was with colleagues at Genoa Ventures, we invested in a company called BrainBox, and this is to look at traumatic brain injury. And so the idea is that we're coming up with novel diagnostics where we can start to put these point of care systems, either at the doctor's office or even think about shipping it to the home. And so if you've had a traumatic brain injury, or we're actually looking at another company that can measure EEGs remotely. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I'm actually wearing one of the Dexcom continuous glucose monitors. And I've got a watch that sort of monitors heart rates and everything that sort of feeds in there. And that data all goes up into central systems now at UCSF, and all sorts of hospital systems sort of carry that ability to pull those kinds of data sets in. So we're seeing a lot of companies around the digital health side. And so this is I'd say, this panel, I already can tell everybody's sort of been touched by a lot of that. And so I'll stop there for now, but hopefully I had a few themes.
So I think another problem that innovative startups can resolve is integrating virtual data to medical recording data. So, right?
So there's
how to transfer from virtual devices to
there's three big components there. So one is the ontology. The British spell tumor with two U's, and so how you sort of keep those keywords and sort of create that header information that's important in terms of defining what's going on, and do that across multiple languages is going to be a very interesting challenge. The enterprise solutions, we're starting to balkanize into different kinds of shops. So if you're doing AI, you might be a Google shop, or you might be an Amazon shop. And so even in the United States, we have different groups that are sort of centering on some of these larger enterprise solutions. And then you start to get locked in some cases. And so how those tie into your hospital information systems, your LIMS and other things are going to be a challenge. And I think the third thing is sort of the QC QA component of that, and how we start to think about using all this data and the quality of that data. and how we curate out the bad data, keep the good data, keep the informative pieces, and that'll be another component.
I see, June, you would like to add something, right?
Yeah, I just feel like there's a lot of synergies with what Theo just mentioned. I definitely, we started investing in digital health 3 years ago when we launched Joyance Partners, but like last year is really COVID accelerated the acception of digital health companies into pretty much a new norm. There's a lot of, from the funding perspective, there's a lot of more funding coming into this, a lot more later stage round for digital health companies and more diverse ways of exits. And from the ecosystem perspective, like there's a lot of, like payers, big tech companies, consumer companies really are thinking about digital health solutions as part of their strategies. So I definitely see a lot of synergies with what you just mentioned.
Can you please mention some successful cases, successful startups you invested? You said that you already invested in some time.
Yeah,
so
he invested in end of 2018, early 2019 of a company called Clean One, which is digitization for basically clinical trials. And during COVID, as a lot of clinics are closing up for clinical trials, and the fact that they already have a platform already set up and being able to connect with remote patient monitoring, wearable devices, and then figure out a whole solution of onboarding and recruiting patients and get them still connected with the clinical trials, which really accelerated their business. Their business revenue has been growing quite substantially since then. Another company I invested in 2019 called Nimble Health, which is a fall prevention for population health in senior adults. And their business has been accelerated quite substantially as well. They launched their business in both the US and New Zealand, where there's a very high cost associated from the payers, the government on falls related in the seniors. Really, they're digitizing the solution. Like previously, like for example, a state have a lot of programs, have the senior come into their clinics to do like balance trainings. And one time they can only do at most 100 people. But with this digitized platform, they make it really fun, really engaging, that they were able to access thousands, even millions of people through their platform. So that what I've been seeing is very, very promising. And for the seniors, if they get them moving, change their balance, change their mobility, they will become much healthier and happier. They can go outside, and that also help their solve their loneliness or mental health issues. So that is a company I feel like a lot of promise was done.
Allan, what can you tell us about these main trends, virtual health devices and solutions to control and track health by consumers themselves, and how to integrate virtual data with healthcare recording? And what do you think, and where did you invest in such startups?
So this is an amazing time. It's something we've talked about for decades, that essentially was happening glacially, that has now exploded onto the consciousness of everyone. So the healthcare system is the last area to be reformed. And the reason it's the last area to be reformed is because it was the first area where the laws of supply and demand were disconnected, right? You don't go into a grocery store and use someone else's money to buy groceries, or you don't go to buy a new car and use someone else's money to buy a new car. But for some reason, we decided that when you go to doctors and hospitals, you're going to use someone else's money to pay for your health care. So that's the part that had to change. The reason it's 1/7 of our economy is because there are so many middlemen and so many layers that are involved in that system. Of course, it didn't work. We all hate it. We all get terrible service, and it costs too much. but still it was going to be glacial to change it. So you can credit COVID with being the grenade in the room. Whether they like it or not, now they're forced to change. And that's what it was going to take, talking them into it, coaxing them into it. And I mean providers, payers, the entire ecosystem of healthcare. It was going to take an event like this to make things happen. So, for example, one company I'm working with that I think is just incredibly exciting. So think about it. You've got the latest robot, the latest robotic surgery. You've got the latest regenerative medicine or ophthalmologic procedure, and you need to roll it out. You've got your FDA approval. You're ready to go. You need to now train physicians how to use it. So we do that with wet labs and cadaver labs. Wait a minute. You can't hold any wet labs or cadaver labs, right? You're not going to be able to get people in a room and pull them all together and do that anymore. So how exactly are you going to train doctors how to do your procedure? Luxturna, $880,000 for one shot of Luxturna, right? But it restores blindness in people, particular kind of blindness. It's an astonishing drug, and they don't get paid if it doesn't work. So they're very keen on it working and on training doctors to make it work. So virtual reality comes along with the ability to hold immersive sessions online, multiple people in multiple locations coming together in an online environment with kinesthetic haptics that allow you the touch and feel of real surgery, so that the experience of penetrating through an eye and hitting just the layer in the back of the eyeball can be mimicked to an extent that it is better than wet labs. And so now Novartis has stopped using wet labs and is going to use virtual reality and kinesthetic haptics instead. So we may be witnessing the beginning of the end of wet labs and cadaver labs to train physicians on how to use new products. That is an amazing concept if you stop and think about it.
Yeah, I agree with you that this pandemic just forced for a big improvement in healthcare. And also, absolutely, totally agree with you regarding big opportunities in virtual reality. And we know a lot of companies which teach how to become a health coach or teach practitioners online. And we see that many people now interested to learn about how to build their health foundation much more than before, again, from our Biohacking Congress community. Good. Thanks for all these insights and interesting cases. Next, my question will be about the stage of investment. As we see shifting to late stage investment, I mean Series C and even late. The main reason, very understandable, because investors would like to invest in startups with proven value proposition, with existing relationship with potential clients, I mean B2B business models. And we can understand why investors invest in late stage. What is your opinion? Is it a good situation when only late stage startups get more investment, and for early stage startups it's much more complicated to get funded, and why it happened? And of course, interesting to know where do you prefer to invest, which stage, and why?
So I'm happy to start on this one. I actually sort of disagree, but maybe it's just a biased perspective. So Plug and Play, we focus on the early stage investments, so pre-seed, Series A. We do certainly have a portfolio of later stage companies, but in health, we're seeing the deal sizes explode. So a company could say they're going to raise 25 million and they raised 75 million because the money was there. And that was an example from our portfolio at the Series A stage. The valuations are getting to be incredibly huge. Not necessarily that it makes sense, but that's what's happening. And so investors are moving earlier because they're getting priced out of the rounds that they're normally in. So even I'm talking to, Series B investors, and they're starting to do more Series A because the rounds are getting so big. And so everyone, I think, is polling earlier. There is some sort of issue, though, with pre-seed because it's healthcare, highly regulated. You don't want to invest in just a deck. Like, you want to see some proof of concept, even if it's a digital tool. So it's a little funny because what the standard is to start, it has, I think, a floor just by being in this kind of industry. But the rounds are bigger, and I think there's a lot of activity early stage that more so than before. And COVID certainly helped cause all that interest in healthcare right now.
Good to know your opinion from your perspective. It's a really good situation, and I hope it is so. Okay, regarding early stage investment and late stage investment, Bill, where do you prefer to invest and why? And how do you select what is key metrics for startups?
Who is
that me?
Okay, I actually would like to know both opinions. So let's start, Bill, and then Bill.
So Genoa Ventures, I agree with Julianne that the trend is actually, I think, moving earlier. I think I've been part of two SPACs, and I think SPACs are actually driving some of the Series C traditional investors earlier. It's a very frothy time, and we'll see how long that lasts. But it's created a different kind of dynamic. That said, I've done, I've had a couple of portfolio companies sort of go through a very good C round over, even during COVID. So money has been invested, even though we couldn't even go and, visit those places. We would normally like to kick the tires and meet the team in person and see everybody in 3D, but we've done that virtually and made those investments. Genoa goes seed, Series A, we like to lead, we like to set the terms, we like to build the syndicate. So we're pretty aggressive just because we're all scientists and we think we know what we're doing. And so we have Jenny Rook is the GP at Genoa Ventures. So we follow the sort of McKinsey Kaufman Fellow tradition of good discipline and sort of looking at key metrics, but like going early. So that's a preference. So I'm sort of with Julianne. I think actually the trend is moving earlier.
Interesting. Do I understand right that you don't need in-person meetings with founders to make a decision?
I prefer it. I'm a hugger. By tradition, I prefer meeting in person, getting to know teams, having that informal interaction, and so I'm looking forward to getting back to that. But over the last year, we've all made do.
Interesting. Allan, what do you think? Early investment, late investment? Yeah.
So both, of course, yeah. So
depends. Okay.
I think you've got a skewed panel here. So I think we're all kind of early stage folks around.
Yeah, because we selected early stage startups this time, so that's why we invited almost early stage investors.
Yeah, and so we tend to be the first outside money in. So typically, the round we go in is the first time a company is raising money from other than family and friends or people that it knows. So it's kind of an institutional round, or they've matured to the stage where they can appeal more generically to investors, so they must understand what you need to put together to attract investors, how much you need to have de-risked the venture, how much you need to understand about what your business model and revenue model are, and how you're going to commercialize. We try to catch them just at the stage where the invention is done, the technology or science or research is done or mostly done, and we're headed towards commercialization now. So what we want to fund is commercialization, and that's particularly our sweet spot. We look for deals that can achieve value on this round for the next set of investors. So it's very important for founders as well as early stage investors that first raise that you do, you have to create value. If you don't create value as a founder, you will have a very hard time making money in that investment. So will early stage investors, right? A flat round or a down round after we put a couple of $1 million in the first round is really devastating. So we all have to be focused on, are you at a stage where a reasonable amount of money in a reasonable amount of time is highly likely to increase the value of your company? That's when we like to invest.
Interesting. June, what is your sweet spot in investment?
Yeah, I totally have similar opinions with every other panelist just mentioned. Like basically for digital health, the money has been just growing like year over year for the past 10 years. If you look at the data published by Silicon Valley banks or Rock Health, there's a lot of data about that. So more money coming for the later stage and more money coming into the early stage as well. We focus on early stage. I'm going to compete with Allan because we invest, we claim ourselves as one of the first institutional investor into the round. We focus from inception to Series A. We also experimented trying to incubate some companies ourselves. So in terms of areas that we focus, this year we set a few scenarios for us. Mental health, as everybody pointed out, is a very hot areas to be investing in for this year. Chronic disease, chronic care, fitness, gut health, nutrition, and what we call the youngest and oldest, and also the women's health. So these are a few areas that we are actively looking for companies and innovations for these few verticals.
And what is key metrics when you select startups for investment?
Key metrics, big unmet need. So the market has to be huge and the solution needs to be differentiated and defensible. We also look for a team that are able to deliver, basically able to generate milestones and momentums quickly, and we look for that fast growth. Also, the terms is what we take consideration into, if it is right term for us to invest in.
Good. Next question I would like to discuss M&A. Could you please tell the biggest stories? And I think that Julianne can tell about this because I know you select and accelerate innovations for corporations. Really great accelerator, and I visited your office in Silicon Valley a few times and attended your big pitch meetups with a lot of great innovations on the stage. So you are the leader in this, I think. So I think you have stories to tell us.
Yes, thank you so much. We're happy to hear that. But yeah, with M&A, I don't have any great stories about that side of things. I have more stories on business development deals, partnerships, contracts.
Right. Interesting. Yeah.
The early stage side of things. I also think and in part, I mean, it's both the venture side and the sort of founder side. I don't necessarily want to see an early stage company get acquired. I think we want to see them continue to grow and really reach for the unicorn status. And if they exit early, they're probably not getting that valuation. captured. So it just depends. I mean, it certainly depends on what's going on with the company, of what the right decision is. But yeah, we really focus on B2B partnerships. So it's a long sales cycle, which is, I think, why you're seeing that flip to consumerism right now, consumer healthcare. The providers all dropped out during COVID. They were all unavailable for partnering discussions. And so companies went direct to consumer. Well, in the meantime, and payers seem to be more popular, payer first approaches, because payers didn't go on break during, they were able to continue those kind of discussions. But when they do happen, they're always really exciting.
Which corporations now are looking for innovations since you collaborate with them?
Yeah, I mean, I think every company should be looking for innovations. If they're not, they're
right. Yeah, I agree with you totally. Of course.
Certainly, though, pharma companies, they're looking to engage patients. It's not, it's no longer sufficient to be the maker of a drug and a marketing and sales distribution. They got to also get patients to stay on their medication. The payers are just they realize they don't have great engagement with their users. And then, everyone in between, I think, yeah, on our side, we work with, sort of some of the big brands out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, corporate investors different than institutional investors. Venture funds and startups also get potential partners through this investment. And it is great. I think maybe you also know some interesting stories about cooperation between startups and corporations. Would you like to add something? I mean, June, Bill, and Allan.
Yeah, I can jump in. Yeah, I've been sort of blessed with my UCSF hat. So I'm actually, one of the titles I wear is I'm director of the Sony Biotechnology Center. And so I've had a lot of corporate partnerships around developing commercial products. So Becton Dickinson, flow cytometers and cell sorters, Zeiss confocal microscopes, quantum dots as a reagent, software like Cytobank, all came out of collaborative efforts through my group. And that's taking that into sort of the startup world. I look for these inflection points where companies sort of grow to a certain point that Allan sort of delineated, where you sort of get to that proof of concept, move into minimal viable product. And each one of those valuation stages presents opportunities for partnership or even acquisition. And in some cases, in cases like a company like Zephyrus, or most recently Intabio, they reach those inflection points. And when you start to get to commercial and scale, it made sense to be acquired, where you don't have to build out sales team or marketing or pick the color of the box. You can leave that to people who like to do that. Other companies, you realize that they've got that sort of unicorn potential, and then you're sort of doing the traditional Series C, D, and expansion into international markets. So each one is a different child. Each one has his own path, or his or her own path, and flavor. And so I've learned that you can't script a lot of that. It just sort of happens. And mergers sort of come along with that as well. Sometimes it's the combination of two companies is better than the sum of the parts is better than individual. So yeah, it's a great time to sort of do that. And again, I'll come back to this crazy SPAC thing. People are merging companies in order to create an entity that sort of meets some criteria for a merger, a SPAC type merger. And so you'll start to hear stories about how that's sort of driving the combination of startups as well. So you may put a digital solution along with a technical solution. So somebody who's making a diagnostic but needs the enterprise solution, those are sort of natural combinations.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for your answers, dear experts, dear speakers.
I'll make a comment on Bill's comment, which I completely agree with. The two observations I'd make is I think one of the changes that I'm seeing is if you go back a decade ago or some period like that, early collaborations with strategics was generally disfavored by investors and by strategists. You almost never saw collaborations in the A round or even the B round. Collaborations and strategic partnerships were something that was thought about maybe at the C round. I think that's changed pretty dramatically. And I think now that customer validation and customer discovery is such a critical part of building these companies that early cooperation with potential partners or potential customers is viewed as a very significant de-risking event. Sure, it has to be without rights. You don't want to get tied up with a bunch of rights of first refusal and all that sort of thing. But the fact that one or more strategics likes working with you is a real plus nowadays. Another comment I'll make is I'm kind of the anti-unicorn guy, and not that we don't all like to become billionaires, but what I've experienced on the way to becoming a billionaire is a lot of times late stage investors misbehave, and they misbehave by putting considerable preferences and stacking preferences and asking for things like participations in the end. And I've seen quite a number of $200, $300, $400, $500 million exits when founders and early stage investors were pretty close to wiped out. And not because there wasn't a great exit, and not because investors, late stage investors, made a ton of money, but because of the way the system works, early stage investors and founders don't have the ability to protect themselves the same way late investors do. So absolutely, if you got a shot to go for it, you should try hard to go for it, but be very careful what you're stepping into. When you sleep with elephants, you have to be particularly watchful.
Thank you very much for your advice, and thank you for all your opinions. And June, would you like to add something?
For us, because we don't take board seats typically, traditionally, so we don't actively influence our portfolio companies on exits, but we try to build ecosystem that is helpful for our portfolios. So far we have invested over 80 companies in these areas across the US and Europe. We try to develop relationships with corporations, all kinds of corporations, tech, consumer, payer, provider groups. And we definitely see the same trend that Allan mentioned, more collaborations, more interest in building the strategic investment, and even considering acquisition of companies at earlier stage. I feel like what Allan mentioned about strategics is very helpful. And so if you want to have strategics onto your company, especially considering part of the board, 2 or 3 strategics could be really good composition, and they could be really helpful in terms of building the channels and bringing in resources for your company. But I think one would be risky to have, as the point that Allan mentioned. Just want to add that.
Thank you very much. So yeah, the US market is huge, and despite of all these challenges, a lot of opportunities for inventors in health tech and biotech. Now I think we should introduce all our investors who already joined us. I will make all investors together. Dear investors, now time to introduce all investors who are with us today, and then we will start first pitch. Clara Dream, Anam.
Hi everyone, I'm Anam Sadrangani. I work at Purple Sage Ventures. It is a new fund that founded and based in New York earlier this year. Our focus and mission is investing in underrepresented founders. So every company that we invest in at least has one woman founder. We invest in the pre-seed and seed level. And our focus areas are supply chain innovation, digital health, with a focus on femtech and technology that makes consumers and businesses more productive.
Genevieve. Hi, Genevieve.
Hi there. Hi there. My name is Genevieve Lane Marshall. I have newly come over to Expert Dojo, which we are the largest seed, pre-seed investor and accelerator program in Southern California, and the third by deal volume in the United States for the last 12 months. So we're doing pre-seed and pre-seed accelerator, and then a post-accelerator investment option. I am basically launching and building our new healthcare specific focused area. I'm going to be doing probably 15 deals this year. 20 if I can pull it off. We'll see. And I very much agree with you, Bill, about diagnostics. So I'm looking at early diagnostics as well as some early therapeutics, select med devices, digital health, medical ML and AI. Sorry, I'm all tied up. I like femtech, but I don't get to see a lot of those deals. So I'd love to take a little bit a look at more of those. We have 41% of our current portfolio is female founders. We're investing globally, and I really, really would love to see more diversity, particularly in our healthcare portfolio. We do great as with our other cohorts and our other funds, but the healthcare one is proving to be a little bit more challenging to get the diversity I'd like to see. So big focus there as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we know your accelerator, founded by Brian McMahon. Long time. You're from Los Angeles, and we actually hosted one of our events in your office.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually in
a few years ago, when it was possible to host on-site events, big on-site events. Ingrid, Ingrid?
Yeah, sure. Ingrid Fung here, investment director with Finisterre Ventures. We're a California-based, traditionally ag and food tech investor. So I come from a life sciences background, actually. So I'm a molecular biologist by training. I also am based out of Toronto, which, if you're familiar with the Canadian innovation ecosystem, is actually quite a hub for life sciences as well as medtech innovation. I sit on the board of Life Sciences Ontario, really passionate about early stage life sciences investment, and actually have been spending quite a bit of time for a fund looking at the intersection of in silico discovery for pharmaceutical biologicals as well as small molecules that we think can be ported over and applied to the ag life sciences side. So that's everything from novel food ingredients discovery, small molecule discovery. Agriculture and food tends to be an underinvested segment when it comes to technologies, and one that I think biotech and early stage pharmaceutical companies may not necessarily think about quite a bit, but is a significant market once the technology has been de-risked. So excited to learn a little bit more about what everyone's seeing on the early stage side, and potentially see some technologies here that we can port over.
Thank you. Sami. Hi.
Hi, everyone. Sami Mugrabi here. I'm the managing partner of Atmos Ventures. We're a pre-seed all the way up to Series A investor across, let's say, defensible technologies on the B2B side, focusing a lot on transformational technologies such as quantum computing, digital health, maybe finding ways of how computing power can change the way drugs are discovered through various different types of algos. We're really passionate about looking at, let's say, data and clinical data and how that's kind of being collected across the various spectrums, and the types of insights that could be generated from clinical data and genomic data on a mass scale. Yeah, that's a little bit about us.
Thank you, Sami. David, you just joined us. I saw you in waiting room. Yeah, hi.
Hi there.
We already had a big panel discussion, almost 1 hour. So thank you for joining.
Sorry, I had another commitment that came up, a funding commitment. So I'm an early stage investor over the past 20 years. I've made a couple of dozen direct investments starting in the healthcare field with patients like me, one of the pioneers in digital health. I'm also a small investor through a syndicate in calm.com, Merrill Health, depression treatment, and a couple of dozen other health-related companies. Actually got an active role in a company right now, Modality.ai, that's in the diagnostics field that you were talking about a little earlier ago. So I'm actually an active, put the operator hat on for a little while.
I also see Rahul Kapoor with us, but without video. I asked you a few times to unmute, Rahul. Can you hear us?
Yes, sorry. Hi,
hi. Introduce yourself, please.
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Rahul. I'm an entrepreneur and an investor. Work in a digital health startup myself. And we are present in the UK looking at the remote consultation space. And besides that, I do investing along with some of my partners in digital health, primarily in the UK and Europe. Sorry, I'm a bit out of breath. There's another board meeting I was quickly drawn into that had to be done.
Thank you. Let's introduce yourself.
Great. So I'm Mike O'Donnell. My day job is I'm a partner in the life science group at Morrison & Foster, where I've been for the last 10 years. Before that, 25 years at Wilson Sonsini. Basically, I specialize in representing life science companies, including biopharmaceutical, medical device, diagnostic, and healthcare IT. Over the years, I've probably done over 400 venture and angel financings. I've done 20 public offerings and probably between 50 and 100 M&A acquisitions. One of the more interesting companies I had the pleasure of working with is RS Surgical, who I represent from a little startup company on. They're a robotic surgery company that was recently acquired by J&J for over $5 billion. So some of the companies we have start off very small and then they end up growing quite large. My night job is I'm a member of Life Science Angels, where I have the privilege of investing alongside Allan May.
Thank you very much. And I think it's time to start our first pitch. Clary Dream. And I see Alex here. Alex, you can just share your screen and we will be able to see your presentation. And you...
Hey everyone. So the brand Clary Dream, our main slogan is where a dream meets science. Basically, it's a nature funnest product to support your best performance when you sleep and through the day. Why we decided to concentrate on sleep? Because sleep, one of the three pillars of the good health and well-being besides physical activities and nutrition, but we decided to concentrate on the sleep itself. Why? Because the sleep essentials for the health. It's provided better productivity, concentration, lower your risk of heart disease and other, let's say, benefits of the sleep. Meanwhile, if you're not getting enough sleep, you're gonna get like additional weight, weaker immune system, and so on. But talking about the sleep, I would like to clarify, it's not only sleep itself, it's actually quality of the sleep also. According to the statistics, approximately 1/3 American adults isn't getting enough sleep. So there is a huge market potential. Besides that, taking a little bit market research, we can see that good sleep, according to Google search, is becoming more popular over the last 20 years, and people start looking for that. Meanwhile, in a, let's say, scientific community, interest of the sleep also growing quite constantly for over 20 years. And taking account the COVID and the latest situation in the world, people not getting enough sleep and being more stressful due to COVID and all this situation in the world. So what's the concept behind the Clary Dream itself? It's actually 100% natural product. It's using traditional medicine and scientific support. We have a team of scientific, not actually team, to be honest, it's just one person who's responsible for the new product development. In terms of product line, I would like to give you a little bit more history before I jump to this slide. So initially, brand actually was developed and built up by Australian guy in Australia. He actually developed a product called Pro that support clear and colorful dreams. And he also have Lucid Dreaming Academy, helping people to get into the state of lucid dreaming. And also he developed two additional products, Peace, that support calm and peaceful mood, and Deep that support deep and restful sleep. The company has been acquired by our fund, Amadeo Global, New York-based venture fund. And then as soon as we acquired this brand, we decided to take care of all the operation and marketing activities and just grow the business, because we saw that brand was performing quite well with the proven business model. In addition to that, we developed additional 7 products that you can see on the screen. We decided to concentrate everything around the sleep and what sleep reflects. So it's pretty much everything, starting from the gummies. That's what we actually developed recently, launched a few months ago. I'm not sure I will jump into the all products in description and all ingredients, just maybe 3 main products. The Peace, we source ourselves a few ingredients like ashwagandha from India and rhodiola rosea from Siberia. We source it ourselves because we've been looking for the best suppliers on the market. I want to go into the ingredients and benefit and scientific proof that it's really performing well. The Deep is kind of simplified product with mugshot, valerian root, and melatonin. We also take care of melatonin, and our dose of melatonin quite small compared to the other brands on the market. It's less than 1.5 milligrams. And the key product is the Pro. It's actually been leader for the Clarity Dream, for the Lucid Dream community. Next. So in terms of traction, we've been selling our products on Amazon, Shopify, and let's say other stores. So far, it's actually a little bit outdated because it's 2020. The main product and key seller is Clarity Dream Pro at this moment. But new items that we launched already performing very good in our Shopify store, because we have an Amazon distributor who take care of Amazon, because he actually exclusive partnership with Amazon supplier who's also selling, I guess, Crocs. Why we decided to also concentrate on sleep? Because this market is quite scattered and we couldn't find any leading brand related to sleep in aid market. I won't go to the market again. Our secret sauce that we usually using all natural chemical-free products. You can use it every day, and cognitive science. In terms of product roadmap, this is where we are. This is what we launched already this year. And what we're developing right now, it's actually 3 drinks, morning shot, just to you wake up a little bit faster. If you don't like taking pills or other supplements, then it's vitamin water with the vitamins, and the evening shot, it's actually we're using Peace formula and trying to convert it to the drink so people can have a shot before they go to the sleep and just fall asleep a little bit faster. In terms of target audience, our main target audience is actually everyone who's having problem with the sleep, but we divide it into 3 categories. It's the people who have weight management, because we see a lot of and over 60 years old or 55, with the passive lifestyle, because they usually, according to our research, they have a problem with the falling asleep. Also, it's a healthy young people with the healthy habits and active lifestyle, and they try to experimental and trying to keep them in a shape. And the parents with the kids, because they pretty much feeling a lot of stress. It's pretty much all of us, I guess, and lack of activities. So this is the 3 main target audience. It's a wrong presentation, sorry. In terms of team, this is the founder, Chris. Yelena, CEO, she's also on a call. Ivan is responsible for operation. And as you can see, our team is quite spread around the globe. Yeah, I wouldn't go into the details on this one. And I forgot to mention the slide with the fundings that we're looking for. At this point, we're looking for the $500,000 of the fundings. So in terms of go-to-market plan, at this point, we're using zero marketed strategy. We partnership with the bloggers and influencers who provide the review, unpacking, and mentioning their social media. In terms of consideration, we doing a lot of promotion of the articles that we write by ourselves using our own resources. And then we're using a little bit of like budget for the marketing. We're using Facebook and Google Ads for the market for retargeting purposes. And then growing our database through these channels below, we're using blogs and MailChimps and social media just to convert existing users. In terms of midterm growth strategy, right now we presented to the Amazon and Shopify. What we're launching right now, it's the subscription boxes and additional products to that, just general. And on phase 3, we would like to go to the retailers because right now it's pretty much only D2C online. And I think, yeah, and that's the last slide. Just to cover up, expand our marketing expenses and put up a lot of effort for the productions as well. And a little bit of R&D and PR, this is what probably we're missing a little bit. But thanks to our strategy with the cross promo and influencers, we have quite a lot and successful mentioning in the social media through our ambassadors. And this is pretty much that's it. And happy to answer all the questions.
Thank you, Alex. Now questions from investors. You can stop sharing your screen and we probably will make gallery again. Dear investors, do you have any questions?
I think well, the first question that comes to mind for me is take me through more of the proving the efficacy of these various products.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Just to take me through how you further into how you're proving the efficacy, proving how these work in practice.
All the products, or just how?
Well, just in general, like what's the company's philosophy around? Like generally, if you're selling a medical product, you do clinical trials and there's approvals. Obviously, this is a supplement product that doesn't require such rigor. But what are you doing to do that both pre-sale and then post-sale, getting feedback from consumers?
Yeah, we do have a list of the major clients who love our products. But besides that, we're actually doing focus group, giving people to try our product without revealing effects and what actually it is. We just give them supplements and people who already having problem with the sleep, and then we get in feedback from them if what kind of effects it give them. If we got the positive reviews, then we just release and start manufacturing. This is pretty much that's it. And besides that, we're taking a lot of effort in order to get the right ingredients in terms of formulation. We're spending like quite a lot of time, quality time. I'm not doing it personally. We have a team member who's responsible for that. So once we got the right ingredients in place, we're trying to find the right percentage of each ingredients so it will perform the best. But pretty much, to be honest, all the ingredients on the market, they quite, unfortunately, all the competitors, all of us have quite the same ingredients. That's why we're trying to source the new ingredients to, stand out on the market. Otherwise, we don't want to become other supplement company doing pretty much the same what everyone does. That's why we actually looking right now. We decided to expand on the product with some kind of mushrooms. So we're looking some mushrooms abroad that not really popular and available in every other product. I believe everyone knows like lion mushrooms, but we're looking something similar, but it's new. Otherwise will be, the same product on the market, and it's hard to sell the same product like everyone else doing right now. So we're taking a lot of time sourcing new ingredients. It's taking a lot of time. So we'll see how it goes. Unfortunately, at this point, I'm not ready to share or reveal our secret sauce. That will coming up a little bit later in the end of August.
Thank you. I think I understand what David asked. Do you have any research regarding your technology, regarding your product? So, for example, you can partner with some devices which measure how sleep change with your supplements.
No, unfortunately, we didn't do that, but I will take.
I can connect you with Aura Ring. You can do some program together.
Yeah, that will be cool. Yeah, we would like to try that and see. But basically, we got a lot of positive reviews and feedback from our customers. That's why we kind of confident with the product and quality. That's the best proof of our concept, because people loving it. And to be honest, 50% of our customers, it's returning customers who buying the same products or expanding their average cart. That's why we didn't do any new tests, because the people loving it. That's it.
Alex, thank you very much for your presentation. How long have you guys been up and running? What year did you guys start?
3 years. We acquired the company last year in August, but unfortunately due to COVID, and we've been out of stock. And unfortunately with the COVID, all the manufacture process is quite long and taking like half a year. And we got the first products in January, I guess. That's where we started the push in the market. And before that, we've been just preparing the social media, working with the existing client database. We have over 10,000 subscribers. And this is how we communicate with them with the new launches and sharing the new materials, just educational materials, just to support the community itself.
Okay, I understand. I mean, I understand in this business, especially in the supplements business, scale is a real big thing. Do you feel that 500,000 is a small amount in order to really scale to the next level? Specifically with marketing budgets, and kind of what's out there. I feel that if 250,000 in order to scale specifically on marketing, I feel that a lot more would have to be spent in order to gain traction. I just wanted to know your thoughts on that.
We just want to take it step by step. We don't want to, because there is a lot of things actually changing right now, and I believe at this point this should be enough. But we're always open for the bigger commitment from the investors if it's like 2 million. But I'm not sure we're gonna take more than 1 million, to be honest. And as I mentioned before, our marketing strategy, working with the cross promo in partnership with the other brands and with the influencers, that cost zero to us. Just basically shipping the products so they can do unpacking, and that's it. I'm not sure we're gonna need more than 1 million at this point, but we're ready to consider if you have other thoughts. Another thing that I have in mind, because we've been testing the Facebook ads and Google ads. And at this point, since we had only like 7 products, it wasn't cost efficient, because the price of acquisition was a little bit too high. And that's why we actually launching new products in order to increase average cart. That's why we'll be in a plus. Otherwise, it's a little bit, for example, last time we tested, it was 4 months ago on a Facebook ads. CPA was around $40. And the average cart was 70. But since then, we increased our average cart to over $95. So I believe we're gonna try and try to launch Facebook ads once again, just to see if it's gonna work or not.
And my last question is, what's the percentage from a geographical perspective of your sales currently?
We sell actually worldwide, except a couple countries where the ingredients are forbidden or it couldn't be delivered. At this point, it's pretty much 70% US, then 10% Australia, 10% UK, and the rest of Europe and just the rest of the world.
All right, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So Alex, quick question. So given that you're not running any clinical trials to show efficacy, you're not doing a lot of background research, this reads to me quite a bit like a consumer nutraceutical, well, not a nutraceutical product, but a supplement product, and just kind of a general consumer packaged good product, right? Can you talk a little bit about what your consumer repurchase profile looks like and who are your stickiest customers amongst the target groups that you aim to sell to?
Okay, sure. Since I mentioned before, we acquired the brand that's been majority of the consumers was from the lucid dreaming, and the main traffic was going from the Chris World of Lucid Dreaming Academy. So the people who willing to try and to get in state of the lucid dreaming. So this is the base of, this is actually existing base major of our clients at this point. But since we launched and been doing customer development, we talk with the top clients and like over 20 different clients. We figured out that they have other issues related not only sleep. That's why we decided to increase our product range to the new products so they can increase cart value.
Okay, and I was just trying to get an understanding of like within your product range, you know, who has a tendency to rebuy, kind of, you know, this will help you kind of target your Facebook ad profiles, things like that to help you drive and increase cart size. I was trying to get an understanding of how much work you guys have done on that front, or if it's just, you know, you're starting out on mapping that out.
You mean like the profile, the age and, you know, the exact profile, or what do you mean? By
well, more like, so you mentioned a couple of different consumer groups, right? You know, people who aren't physically active, people who have trouble sleeping, who are older. I just wanted to get an understanding between those groups, you know, who tends to rebuy your product more, where do they spend their time, what do they co-buy your product with? Because there could be, you mentioned co-branding and marketing potential for the product, right?
The top, yeah, the main group is 30 to 45 years old. It's 50-50, I would say, female and males. Majority, once again, from US and UK at this point, and Australia. So it's pretty much the same split, like 60% America and 2020 to Australia and US. They actually repurchasing Claridgen Pro quite often, once every, I would say, half a year. And since we launched the new products, what they've been acquiring, it's the CBD gummies and the Oxyburn gummies. That's the major two products that's driving like increase of average sales. And the people actually, yeah, in terms of lifestyle, because we've been doing customer development interview with the like in person with over 20 people. The average profile 30 to 50. They're quite not active in a lifestyle. That's why I actually buy an Oxyburn, and we decided to launch that. I don't have a notes with me right now, and I don't remember, to be honest, but I could share with you a little bit later all the feedback from the research that we did, like custom development interviews.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Alex. Thank you for great presentation. And next startup, Jess, I see you. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me today. I do want to say I really like this format of the panel to begin with. It was really great to hear everyone's perspective and to get a little bit of information from as far as where everyone is coming from. So that was really great and very informative. I was furiously taking notes. So. All right, so just to dive into Vitaluz, we are a sustainable development startup focused on building holistic conscious communities. We're building communities from a standpoint of providing nutritionally dense food and sustainable lifestyle choices as a basic human right. We're building from a circular economy perspective and comprehensively aggregating a lot of existing technologies into a cohesive community that basically de-silos a lot of what we're seeing that's compartmentalized, that prevents access and it really creates some supply chain issues as far as connectedness to health and nutrition. So we're overcoming this barrier of entry where it's prohibitive as far as both availability and pricing for choices that are better for the person, planet, or community. People are forced to choose cheaper, more processed food and traditionally consumptive processes in general because it's what's accessible and what's affordable versus organic foods, nutritionally dense foods, access to small farming, etc. And we're really trying to tackle problems like food deserts, food swamps, and basically, like I said, it's really that focus on de-siloing and being able to aggregate tech. We do this through our proprietary concept of our eco-agro microcity. Let me actually decrease the size a little bit so I can see everything. So we do this through our eco-agro microcity plans. We aggregate renewable energy microgrids, water conservation infrastructure, regenerative and vertical hybrid agriculture programs. a marketplace that combines farmers and culinary programs, as well as education platforms. Net zero modular built residential and retail, retail including a small business incubator model so that we can be forces of economic stabilization within the communities we place these in, transportation share platforms, zero waste programming, holistic wellness centers with collaborative medicinal plant medicine programs, as well as the technology component being community-wide data mapping and integrated AIoT interwoven into a master plan throughout the city so that we're comprehensively collecting and aggregating data for analytics applied throughout the community. We also are, like I said, really building from that circular economy approach. And what this translates to is supply chain absorption everywhere we can, from our modular factories where we're actually building the end product to build the communities, as well as direct connection with agriculture and energy, so that what we're doing is by absorbing these supply chains, we're interconnecting our profit centers so that we can increase the overall profitability of the model and pass this along in two ways. Number one, to obviously to the end user for an obtainable price point, but also to be able to pass along profitability to our investors and be able to promise a higher ROI and IRR. And again, we're not doing anything new here. We're just aggregating existing and proven technologies. What we're doing, the special sauce of what we're doing, is pulling it together in a holistic, comprehensive way that it's still approachable, yet profitable as far as consumer pricing and investor payback. The technology that we're focusing on currently is the infrastructure of the microgrids, overlaying that also with a water conservation infrastructure, as well as IoT connectivity with all of these systems, comprehensively placing sensors throughout the community. We have really incredible partners that are helping us from a bunch of different perspectives to build this proprietary schematic. And then on top of the entire data mapping system, overlaying that with a system of metrics driven by AI. And what we're doing is using an AI platform that quantitatively measures health and happiness. It's through frequency of voice. So by overlaying all of these things together, we're able to place a health and happiness index within the community and measure how happy and healthy our residents are by providing this comprehensive environment that's really predicated upon access to wellness through nutrition. And really kind of talked about that already. Specific to the business model ask, there's a lot of layers as far as direct to consumer, direct to businesses by pulling in this small business incubator retail model. And then, different parts of the entire model that translate to how we communicate with the consumer or other businesses. Why now? It's incredibly important. We're seeing there's just such a massive psychological shift after the pandemic that we're seeing as far as pliability to new concepts, but also this increased desire for connection to health and wellness, increased desire for elevated immunity, and then also that there's an imperative need as far as this big picture, real and drastic change from a climate change perspective, but also from a health and wellness perspective. It's interesting. Again, I'm really glad that I was able to hear the panel and the discussion prior to, because I actually don't get to talk much on pitches about how this applies to health and wellness, when that's actually really the core of what we're trying to do in these communities. Most of the investor discussions I have are really on the real estate development side, but the core of what we're trying to do with these communities is really attack this problem, especially in the United States, of increasing chronic illness. And because people are so disconnected to genuine, real nutrition and access to holistic health, in addition to supplementing traditional healthcare, we're just seeing these massive peaks in chronic illness. So what we're trying to do is to provide this overall comprehensive atmosphere and environment that people live in, that wellness is seamlessly integrated into their everyday life, whether they're actually aware of it or not. As far as market size, there's a lot of different market segments that we affect here through this model and how we're pulling this all together in that big picture approach. So there is a massive demand for this. You know, sustainability, we see anywhere from a 74 to 86% preference in buying for an option that's labeled as green or sustainable versus the alternative. As far as competition, I'm not going to be so arrogant as to say that there is no competition. There are a lot of people that are doing parts of this as far as agro communities or holistic wellness integrated into spa and facilities within, especially within tourist segments. So I'm not going to say that we don't have any competition directly, but we are really trailblazing a market segment as far as comprehensive circular economy master planned built communities that are predicated upon access to nutrition. So for us, it's really about providing that map and that footprint to unfold for conscious new future build that prioritizes health within a community setting. We have a really incredible team of experts with a whole lot of expertise in a lot of different areas. And it's really about pulling the right people on board that can create this expansive vision and pull it together in a uniform way. We also have some really great advisor partnerships from companies that are helping us to, again, really analyze everything from a specific point of expertise and then pull it into the master model. The finance, we have really extensive financial models that are built out, and I'm happy to share, but the point being that it is a little bit heavy on the front end build because of the extent of the technology build from the infrastructure level, but the long-term returns are pretty impressive for the model. And we do believe that there's additional revenue streams, especially as far as post-production placement and the technology replication that aren't necessarily built into these models. We kind of keep that in our back pocket because we know that we will be able to patent a lot of different areas of this and then essentially trademark, franchise, et cetera, and unfold it elsewhere. Again, the finances, I'm really happy to share them extensively with specific interests. But we're really looking at least a 6 multiple over 20 years, 6x. What we're currently raising is a master model of $275 million in order to be able to fund the comprehensive phase 1, which again is a circular economy approach from modular factories to eco-agro micro-city placements. That $275 million raise, we've broken it down into 3 tranches, 15 million being the seed round that we're currently in. We are looking to pair our seed and pre-development money with land acquisition in order to help stabilize that pre-development seed risk with pairing it to an appreciating tangible asset. So we would give first position on the land as well as preferred stock and a higher equity valuation translation for that particular round. We're looking at 500K units minimum. My preference obviously would be an investor that's along with us through growth with later tranches and understands that this is a little bit longer term of a play. We're not looking for people to come in for a 2 or 3 year exit. This is being able to develop multiple different market segments into a cohesive master model.
Yes.
Well, because I'll start one again. That's a lot to take in. I'm not a property investor, so I can't ask probably the most educated of questions, but it just seems like that's a lot to do as a brand new startup. What's sort of the history of some of the people involved that gives sort of credibility to raising this kind of money to do such an ambitious, large project at the get-go?
Sure. On the development side, and you're 100% right, it really all comes down to the team having enough expertise in their respective area to pull it together into the comprehensive master model. From the development side, Philip Sewell, our Chief Development Officer, that we also paired with Steve Bradley, who is kind of our co-CDO and Risden Group. Between the two of them have, I believe, over 55 years experience in developing large projects, sweet spot being around 500 acres. Philip's developed 88-story skyscrapers in downtown Denver, 2 city blocks in Phoenix, city block in San Diego, massive projects in Russia for 18 years, international experience. Steve Bradley.
And what's the level of engagement of this person in this project? So, you know, is this their full-time thing? Are they giving you a couple of hours a week? How engaged are they?
Philip is a few hours a week. Steve Bradley, as the co-CEO, has just kind of stepped on to take that lead operations every day co-raise role. His company, Risden Group, has similar experience to Philip, large scale, multi-use, multifamily, in that he's a little bit more in the 100 to 200 acre sweet spot as far as development. And his role is a little bit more active than Philip's. Philip, his scale of projects, it's really activating him comes with funding.
More questions, please.
Just a quick question. Thank you for your presentation.
Sure.
You know, I'm a buyer in this kind of I buy into the vision. What's difficult to wrap my head around is really the capital intensive aspect of it. Have you thought about, and you know, given the fact that you are, let's say, an aggregator of all these technological platforms and putting them all together and creating these types of like modular solutions, have you thought of perhaps partnering with companies that already own land or already own these buildings in order to create these sustainable solutions for existing projects, so that you know, you are providing this type of service or kind of this value add where there could be some type of, I don't know, revenue share associated with you know, on the commercial real estate side, stuff like that. That way, you know, you could deploy faster with a lot less money. I mean, have you thought about those types of scenarios?
Absolutely. It's difficult to really, especially because this is a complex model, it's difficult to really articulate the extent of how we're raising and the partnerships in a short period of time. But yes, we have that discussion. You know, while I'm raising for the master fund, I'm also raising project specific as well. And the conversations, you know, as we talk about land opportunities or developing existing communities in this way to establish Vita Luz as, you know, really an expert in this area, they're ongoing and continual, and every conversation I have really tends to end up with, okay, well, we have land here, can you do this here? I mean, everything from Morocco to Dubai to Qatar to the UK to all throughout the United States. Island nations are very interested in this because, especially from the manufacturing and the agriculture standpoint, because they're so far away from their supply chain and from being producers. So, I mean, my conversation with the Minister of Tourism of Jamaica was, you know, I have land outside of Kingston, I'll divert government money to this. But really, you know, there's a lot that we need to develop from the perspective of these proprietary microgrids and, you know, where we're at in that process. And that really takes some seed capital for the master model. But we do have interest in specific areas of the project. We have a couple people that we're in due diligence with as far as specifically the U.S. Eco-Agro Microcity for Costa Rica. We have 2 people that are looking at it for about 20 million and 25 million. For that land specific site. We have a couple people looking at modular, just coming in with the modular factories. If we assemble it by project specific and then aggregate funds into master, that's fine as well. I tend to pitch first from the master model perspective because it's what's the most attractive returns for the investor. And I know that I can exceed these, you know, especially with how we've built the financials. So it's the most attractive returns for the investor, but if there is a specific interest for a specific project, you know, I'm happy to have that conversation as well. And we actively are having several.
I mean, I also see a lot of value, you know, really on the B2B side. You know, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, if we're looking at these large scale industries, you know, there is a lot of competition from selling products and whatnot. So, you know, companies now are really, you know, gaining traction in shareholder value by decreasing costs. So if you're able to kind of show that you know, you can create sustainable solutions for a business that allows them to, you know, be a lot more sustainable as a business while also decreasing costs at the same time is over a long period of time, I think is a real moneymaker there.
Right.
For yourself as well as for those companies that can perhaps get tax benefits or various other types of benefits associated with that. So it'd be great to perhaps get a few use cases, just discovery use case, like you go to a steel manufacturer or one of those kind of articulated heavy type industries and be able to apply that type of stuff. I can see value there. So that's just something for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really kind of the foundation of how this is all layered together. And being able to start with the modular factories, we can be up and running within 10 to 12 months of the modular factory funding. And Vita Luz as the community, it's our own supply chain. So we already have our entire sales pipeline full for actually through year 2, and in addition to the demands that we already have outside of just our own communities. And then, on top of it, with our small business incubator retail model, by being able to also simultaneously invest in our partners to help absorb them, we're ensuring that our costs are reduced over a 20-year model of this plan. So by being able to reduce those costs and that overhead comprehensively across the board, it really ensures long-term profitability and returns.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and thank you for questions, dear investors and experts. Would you like to ask more questions, or we should start next pitch?
I have one quick. Okay, go ahead.
Question. No.
Yeah.
Quick question, please.
It's just a curiosity around zones. I mean, around the world, there's free trade zones, there's exclusion zones, there's tax-free zones. Is that built into your thinking a little bit and how you're choosing sites?
Right, absolutely. Opportunity zones coupled with tax exemption zones. So specifically for Costa Rica, the modular factory would be tax exempt for 18 years. So that's part of the reason, aside from the amazing sustainability initiatives and sustainable tourism initiatives, that one of the sites that we've chosen for this first phase 1 is Costa Rica. And then domestically, opportunity zone development for the eco-agro micro-city, as well as integrating into local community, essentially these, I'm trying to remember specifically what the plan is called, but unfolding economic development coupled with sustainability initiatives within local governments. We get a lot of support and offer for tax exemption for certain business applications of what we're doing locally as well.
Yeah, that might be a nice kicker for family funds and other groups that may want to take advantage of that. That's pretty cool. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your feedback. Our next startup, Wellness for Humanity. I see Leanne with us.
Well, thank you. My name is Leanne Pham. I'm the CEO and co-founder for Wellness for Humanity. We're a health concierge service company that focus on wellness and a personalized testing solution. And let me go ahead and share you my screen. Can you guys see this?
Yes, we can see. I can.
Amazing. Let me move to the bottom. Okay, perfect. Okay, yeah, so again, we're a wellness personalized testing solution company. A little bit more about us is our why is really empowering humanity to thrive. We have a mission to become the new gold standard for personalized health. And our focus here is, democratize wellness testing solution. A little bit of background of our story. Pre-COVID, we were working on a biohacking hotel and co-working space. And again, a big portion of the concept at the time was personalized testing. And naturally, when the pandemic happened early in the year, we decided to pivot and help our community. We're based in Houston, Texas. And so we decided to pivot like the rest of the nation and provide testing solution for our community. Both of my sisters were on the front line, both doctors and PA. So at the time, they're in trash bags, no mask. It was really crazy testing the community. And it was natural for us, a group of social entrepreneurs, to step out and help my sister and help the community set up. We set up our Houston's first testing site. And then it kind of organically happened from there, and we scaled and start opening different brick and mortars around the nation, launch our online test kits. At the time, we built this amazing team around the world, all working towards the same mission. Beginning of the year, we launched our COVID vending machine, which will be doing our wellness testing too. That was probably the one that got the most media. We just launched our kiosk location in Austin, Texas. And the most recent thing that has happened in the last couple of weeks was we filed our application for a franchise model with the FTD application. So that's a really quick story. We're COVID babies, so we're still new. This is about 10 months in the making. Sorry, I skipped it. So here's our team. There's 4 founders. I'm one of them. And the 4 of us are very focused on health and science. We have all been through our journey of our personal health issues that we've overcome. So we're all super passionate about this project. Here is the middle. It's just a structure where it's a small team of 7 seats, that what we call our accountability chart. It's a little different from your org chart, which is really revolved around titles. This is strictly accountability, our roles and responsibility, our execution. The team is working diligently, executing the visions of our founders. And this is really, we believe, the structure to scale is structure first and putting the people in the right seats. Here's a really high level of like the traction that we have done this last, I would say more like 8 months. We've opened, we're in Houston, we're in Atlanta, San Jose, Honolulu, New York. Las Vegas is opening next week. Those are our brick and mortar locations. With our brick and mortar locations, we also do a lot of corporate testing. We provide end-to-end solutions, opening up a lot of corporations, events. And so we've been very honored to be able to capture a lot of great long-term contracts, like the Atlanta Hawks. We test them every week at their games. Signed a deal as official partners with Home Depot. We've had the honor to do testing with Tony Hsieh before he passed away. We have our contract with ISG Hotels, Sony Pictures, Ritz-Carlton, and those are just to name the few. So within a short time of, I would say 8 months of real traction, that's what we've been able to accomplish. Here again is just kind of our strategies for the rest of the year and going into 2022. I won't go through all the details, but mainly you can see here, we kind of broke it up in different milestones and what our focuses are. And it kind of tapers off. COVID does taper off in our projections for the end of the year. And I'm not saying that it's going away or anything like that. It's just going to be treated like any other flu or infectious disease. But we are moving towards our original concept, and which is personalized and wellness testing. So we're super excited about that. Here is just to give you a picture of what we see the market is going with rapid tests and over-the-counter tests. And when the world comes together and the entire world comes to fight one problem, the pandemic, the innovation around it has really skyrocketed and really, multiplied and put us like 10 years ahead of where we would have been in the curve. And so we see a lot of innovations around rapid tests really being, cost-effective solution and over-counter test kits too. Kind of moving away from the laboratory. And I'm not saying that we don't need the laboratories. I guess what I'm saying is just, it's a more effective and cost-efficient way. And as we go, the testing and the rapid tests will get better and better. And so I'm going to share you a really quick video here. I'm really excited because I got this video from my lab partner last week. And this is just like a quick insight of where the rapid test has gone. And I've seen this every day for the last like 8 months. And so it's exciting to see how fast things are moving. So let me play it real quick. And let me know if you guys can see. Oh, I don't know why it's not showing.
The future in rapid result, saliva-based quick tests, antigen test. Scan the QR code, opens up the Check My Test app portal, registers the test kit number, push the battery door in on the one-time use kit. The saliva well opens up, connects via Bluetooth to the Check My Test web portal. Put the saliva in the well. In 3 minutes, it reports to your Check My Test portal. This is one-time use, throw it in the garbage. Same thing for antibody. We're looking into STD, tuberculosis, and a number of other tests. The future.
I love sharing that video. Yeah, it's just, it comes to show, like, you know, things that when I was making this deck, I didn't have this video yet, but it's pretty cool to see how fast things are moving. And it's already here. So, you know, again, you know, because of COVID and this last couple months, I'll just focus on this on the right-hand side, we were able to create a scalable infrastructure. And so whether it's COVID now or post-COVID, really what we're saying is we've been able to, you know, COVID has really leveled out the playing field for anybody because it was new to everybody. And so with our company, super passionate about our mission and being small and anti-fragile and fluid, we were able to pivot without the red tape and really create an infrastructure to where we see is the future and a segue to the future of healthcare. And so now we have, you know, laid the pipelines with our locations, our kiosks, our online market share, our vending machines, you know, our corporate relationships with all of our corporate clients, a technology platform that shows people from end to end how to solve and monitor safety protocols. But this really is just a segue into the future of how we see health will be, you know, moving forward. And again, this is our brick and mortar in New York, our kiosk model that we're launching in Austin, and vending machines are, you know, there's some of them already in the airports and some of the hotels. And so these are just what we have that are physical. So here's a really simple infographic that I made that really kind of translate what we're trying to do as a company. And that's really transforming health. So if you look at it, shifting from the left is to reduce the cost of care, but while still providing the quality of life. And so through my personal journey and you know, what I've gone through and what I've had to overcome, I'm super passionate about how do we make testing not only personalized, but more accessible and more affordable, right? And so the model that we came up moving forward is taking all of our distribution channels and then creating like a franchise model that what we now call is the Wellness Buyers Club. And so it's obviously been done already, but we're using this model for healthcare and our purpose. And it's like the Costco of Lab Direct. And the idea is, what better way is, you know, now we can just focus in, you know, getting memberships. And this gives our patients the buying power, and we're passing along all the costs. That's the idea. It's a transparency way of saying, you know, hey, this is like $10, you know, this is $25, or this is $300. I mean, we're just passing along the cost. It's very transparent. You're buying, your membership is buying you the buying power, and it comes with a bunch of different perks that we're still tweaking. But the idea, I think most of it will fall in the 99 and 59 month model. But as you can see, at $59, you can have up to $600 worth of health products and services per month on yourself. And that's actually the number at cost. So you're really, it's a huge savings. So we believe this is the model that we're going to be, you know, launching, and this is what we're franchising for all of our locations, our kiosks. You know, we have a lot of interest with our kiosk model right now, in a lot of our like Fortune 500, the Hawks wants it on their campus, just a wellness program moving forward to not only make the employees or the patients or the consumer feel safe, but it's really just a, you know, what better way? I mean, the CFO is going to love knowing that their employees are focused and at their best and be able to perform their best. So here's just a really short, you know, example how this would work. So for anybody, NAD, IV right now, and this is pricing based off in Texas, but it's about $500–600 for an IV. It's about 3 hours to do the IV treatment. And so what we're saying is, you know, take out the middleman. This is going to be much faster, no retail markup. It's going to cost our members $99 instead of the $500. And, you know, this includes the nurse, the IV, the bags, I mean, just everything, and the NAD itself. The price range, this is in Texas, but I've seen it go from the East and the West Coast, go from $900 to $1,200 easily for the same session. And so it's a huge savings. Here are some of the numbers that's projected for tests delivered for 21 and 22 through our different distribution channels. Projected income statement for year one. The main source of revenue is going to be our licensing from our locations and kiosk model, coming at 5.6 million. Our largest one is from our vending machines. That's with assumptions of 500 machines year one. And we will continue to do corporate testing with all of our clients and provide wellness programs in the future. And here below is just a breakdown of cost of goods, payroll, and expenses. We are seeking funding for $5 million. The allocation breakdown is 15% towards technology development, 60% towards operations and inventory, and then 25% goes to our current short-term loans and cash flow. And so that brings me to the end of my deck. Here are some of the news and different media that we have been very fortunate to be a part of during this last, I don't know, like 6 months. So I'll go, that ends my presentation. I'll take any Q&As.
Dina, I would like to add from my side that we collaborated a few times with Wellness for Humanity. Wellness for Humanity provided rapid COVID tests for Biohacking Congress in Silicon Valley. That was really great experience, and I can actually recommend this team. One of the co-founders, Pavel, actually a great biohacker and a big expert and speaker, and he did great performances at our Biohacking Congress. So we know team and we know this product. We tested.
So are you licensing those, or how are you?
I'm sorry, was the question on the test kits or what?
Yeah, on the test kits, like the one you showed on the video. Is that?
No, so Wellness for Humanity is really just, you know, we're just the, we're not the lab, we don't make the test,
Right.
But we help this, so we're just the storefront, right? And so we provide, so we vet everything ourselves, everything we do through empirical data, like we test everything before we put it to our consumers, anything I can do with all my kids.
How do you, and so the question is how do you do that testing? So the data is really critical here, and is this a collaborative effort where you're helping to fund an initial trial with the technology provider, or?
Yeah. So that test right there it's pretty new. I was just giving everybody a sneak peek on what the future rapid test is. Once that's really ready with its EUA for, we wouldn't do anything. If it's COVID related, it has to have its EUA with the FDA. Mm-hmm. And then because of our connections and we know what's out there, we're just able to provide, as long as it fits our brand and our quality control, we provide it to our consumer.
Okay, and are you paying for helping to pay for the EUA so that?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
We don't pay for the EUA. We're just partners. We have a lot of lab partners and manufacturer partners that we've been able to help facilitate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Allan, first of all, great presentation. As you mentioned, I think the business model that you're thinking about is post-COVID. I see that most of your cost seems to be coming from the kiosks and the vending machines. What's the time to turn them into profitability for you, or have you all already deployed them with tests beyond or besides COVID?
So the wellness test kits is being launched as of last week. So yeah, so it's pretty new. It's kind of funny in the projections when we're doing, we are tapering it off, with the vaccine coming out and the landscape changing, we decided to go ahead and launch, and we're launching our like sleep profile, stress profile, anything that's kind of still, well, the way we kind of envision it is, the first line of defense for the next pandemic is really your immunity. And so we're super passionate about like, how do we make us better first, right? And so the way we kind of laid out our program is we're still offering COVID test kit, but any other wellness test kind of goes with cardio, sleep, stress. But we have a whole line of like DNA tests and stuff that we're launching beginning of the year with like LA Fitness and a bunch of these different brands that we've already been speaking to.
So like post-COVID, and I know this is a difficult question to answer, but have you thought about your CAC, the cost to acquire one of your customers? How much would that be?
It's going to be, so right now the market for, so I don't have that exact number what you're asking, but what I can say is, for COVID right now, it is kind of competitive because of just the nature of it. But for the wellness test kits, the way we envision it, there's a larger margin there. And so the projections in the data room, I have like videos and all that, and it kind of goes through a deep dive with our CFO, and it'll probably be a little bit easier to navigate that question.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. More questions?
The wellness club, wellness buyers club is an interesting idea. How do you get enough service providers to make it viable? If you only had one service provider, that would, obviously wouldn't work. How many service providers do you think you need to make it work?
When you say service provider, are you talking about like our staffing?
Yeah, well, like I'm paying you $60 a month, and I'm going to get certain services, health services back for that. And you obviously need to be buying those services at a much lower than normal price.
Right.
What's the metrics around it?
Yeah. So the way we kind of envision that is, our projected for year one is 12 brick and mortar, and then 50 kiosk, and this is along with 500 vending machines. And so it's going to be kind of, the vending machines, it will also can be manned, like the request that we have at the airport can be manned with a health concierge right now. And so in terms of facilitating that from state to state, I don't see that being a problem, because you really just we're supplying everything, and then licensing out the franchise model, and it's a minimum of a phlebotomist that needs to demand the staff.
Okay.
No, okay. So thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you had great experience with us, good experience, and hope you will join us next time. Thank you very much, and have a good day. If you are interested in connection with some startup presented today, please just write me, and I'm happy to introduce you to a founder of the startup.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. Bye.